was the first Australian player flying and fly out. So we knew that from NSL to A-League is going to be about 15 months break or 18 months break or somewhere along those lines. So we needed to stay fit. Obviously, I was signed by Bonner White Eagles in New South Wales Premier League, and they agreed that they're going to fly me every Friday in the morning from here to Sydney. They're going to pick me up. We're going to go to a training session, and then we're gonna do the training session, play the game on Saturday night, and then on a Sunday morning I would fly back to Perth so I can go back to work. So that was the arrangement. So, and I believe that that did prolong my career, and the transition for those 12 months of not having a football was much easier for me, because I played in the state league here and as a player coach at Inglewood, and then I was able to go and sort of do those 8 or 9 games at New South Wales Premier League. Was like my excuse me, pre-season for the A-League. I was fully fit, and I remember when Steve McMahon became a coach, we did some of the testings and stuff like that, and I was still 34, 35 years of age at that time, and I was able to do those testings at a high level because of those games that I played. They thought that the transition from one league to the other league is going to be much smoother, but somewhere along the line, fans didn't see that way. The fans didn't follow. So what they did in A-League was, obviously in the old league, the club ran the events. Everything was run by the club to fulfill the needs of the paying public that comes. You know, we nominated to play at Saturday 7 o'clock. There was no negotiation between the Foxtel and SBS and you know, television stations and them demanding you play at this time. No, we nominate to play 7 o'clock, so be it. So that was one part, and then all of a sudden is advertising campaigns were run by the club here in Perth. And even now, I have great sort of a concern, because the FFA is running a league to fulfill the needs of eastern states, but nobody cares about what's happening here. So you can go there and watch the Glory game on Saturday night, and you have a program, and you're reading about Melbourne Victory, you're reading about New Zealand, you're reading about Sydney, but there is 2 pages of Perth Glory. There was none of that in the old league, because we knew, and that's why those programs at the Perth Glory were highly collectibles, because the people wanted to find out something about from the inside the camp, what Scotty Miller likes, what you know, Damien Morey likes, what Jason Petkovic, how he prepares for the game. None of that anymore matters at the club, because it's run at the national level. And what works in Eastern State doesn't work here. And I always say that. We need to capture this audience here to come and watch our games. We need to push players into the media. I believe great initiative. We used to have the reading month. We always started at Inglewood Primary School, where 2 or 3 players all the time going to the primary schools and reading to the primary school kids, just for an hour, or you know, sign autographs and stuff like that. And I remember, because I live in the area, I started at Inglewood, and later on my kids started going to that school, and one of my sons comes home. He says, Dad, have a look at this. It's one of the books that I signed. It's a signature on the back. So it's great initiative, but you associate yourself with the people that you're around. Those kids grow up, they're going to the games, and we need to do that. We need to go to the public events and promote our players. That's the big plus that we had. And at that time, you know what, we didn't have a social media. Now it's a lot easier, and everybody is accessible now through the social media. We had, you probably remember those Nokia 1-on-1, the bricks. At that time, you know, it's not texting, it's not Twitter, not Facebook or anything like that. It's just if you want to find something out from the camp, how the team going and everything else, you either read it in the newspaper or you get the program at the game, and everything is in there. And that's why it was a big for us. We were always available for the media. Obviously, somebody from the club has to tick all the boxes. So the media calls the club first, the media manager ticks and calls the player and stuff like that. If interview has to be done and stuff like that, the media manager is always present. It was never a problem. Actually, I did sign for Powles in Greece, but the two clubs didn't agree on the transfer at that time. So I don't know where my footballing career would be if I went to first division in Greece to play. So, but I never sort of took sort of up on myself to look for the opportunities overseas. I always believe that when I play for the club, I give 100% to the club that I play for. I was very well looked after by Perth Glory as well, and I didn't have a reason to go overseas because I had everything here. You know, at that time I had a business. I started a business. I mean, I bought a business and I was running that, coincide with footballing career. My first child was born in 2000. So I practically had everything there for me. So I didn't have to go overseas to chase. You know, I always also believe that if you're doing everything right, the money side of the game is just a consequence of you doing well, practically. So I wasn't money hungry, never was, and I was just enjoying playing in front of 15,000 people every week. That was great satisfaction for me. It was interesting because when I was called in Socceroos to play for Socceroos, not necessarily that I had a best year of playing for Perth Glory that year. I think I was playing much better personally year before that. But you don't knock it back to represent your country. You don't knock it back, and you know, being with the team in New Zealand, it was a great experience. And I remember we played. I think we played New Zealand in the final, qualifying for that Confederation Cup. We lost, I think, 1-0, I believe. I came on late in the game, and yeah, it was funny because it was right on my birthday. It was 14th of July, and yeah, I ended up playing, I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever. We end up losing 1-0, like I said. But yeah, it was a great experience. You know, played with Damien. Damien was in that Socceroos squad, and it was very easy, you know, to slot into that team. Yes and no. I mean, at first, the relief after you retired, practically it's just not going to training sessions and put your body through the paces and stuff like that. That's a nice relief. But then after that sort of passes, then you start missing the game. But as you get older and older, I think it's, you know, the body and mind accept you can't play anymore, and you just put it. Every single guy that we played in those years at the Glory, like I said, was part of the family. We had the culture that nobody is bigger than the club, and we are all there committed to the cause. That was it. We all wanted to succeed, and the players that every single one of them that we played in those early glory days were memorable, and every single one of them, I can categorically say, enjoyed their time. Was it hard? Yes, but you know, on the end of the day, And you know what, even now, if you tell people now, imagine this, you're going and you're working from 9 to 5, and then you rush for the 6:30 training session starts. You know, and put it this way, that those years, Gary Marocchi knew what the levels need to be, fitness-wise and everything else. And on the end of the day, nobody complained. Everybody was doing the great job just to get super fit, because we did not want to let a state and ourselves down, and the club obviously. But you know what, and that's where I'm saying that you know, the Glory as a team is in A-League. Yes, that's fine, but the Glory as an organisation has a bigger influence on football in WA than they think. Because without the Glory, it's pointless having an NPL, it's pointless having the Women's League, it's pointless juniors playing junior sport. Why are these people training so hard? Is because the Glory is providing opportunities for these players to be professional. And that in itself is sort of a big responsibility, because it's not only 20 players or 23 players that Popper has. You know, it's thousands of kids that are playing. It's a big responsibility. But every single player that we played in those early days, it's, you know, I would be unfair to mention one and not the other. So it's every single one of them deserved it to be there, and they loved every minute for as long as they played at the Glory. It doesn't matter how long, 2 games, 200 games, whatever it is. Massively, because it still keeps you in the game, keeps you interested, and you know, the knowledge that you have in the game and experiences that you had throughout your career, you can pass on to somebody else, and maybe better their career and journey in football as well. It's possible that it stays subconsciously with me, that transfer maybe in my coaching sort of roles. But being attacking footballer that I was, obviously that plays part as well. And I like scoring goals. I like seeing goals being scored from all the different positions and stuff like that, because it's sort of a special sort of a talent to be a goal scorer. It's you can work on it, but you cannot get it. It's you're either born with it, you can't. What I'm looking at is sort of a defensive players you can make and be in defensive players. You can make midfielder, but you can't make strikers at all. So that's my philosophy, and that's how I look at the strikers. Yeah, look, if you win a grand final as a coach, and I always say this, as a footballer, you have your sort of a game in your hands. As a coach, you don't. So you can put things in sort of in motion with the team. You can set them up structurally, and you can set up your tactics and training and put all of that in place. But on the end of the day, it's in players' hands to perform that to get the result. Nothing to do with you. You are sort of taken out, and you have no practically you don't have a control. You have a control before the game, and you have a control at half time. You don't have control in those 90 minutes to a certain degree. So it's up to the players. Where would that stack? It's completely different, but it would be up there with the 2003 grand final win, 100%. Yeah, I believe that it's harder to win the grand final as a coach than a footballer, than a player. Yeah, different coaches over the years, and obviously those first couple of years, Gary Marocchi, again unknown, being in the NSL and played himself in NSL in Adelaide, and played for the Socceroos as well. So obviously he knew the levels and where we need to be and stuff like that. And it was great that he sort of influenced a lot of our play, the pattern of plays and stuff like that. And you can see where his relationship with Zoran Matic, who at that time was the coach of Adelaide City. You can see that relationship and how Zoran was working It's pretty similar how Gary Marocchi was working. Patterns of play, and at every single moment in the game, if we had a chance to do any patterns of play, everybody knew what's going on. Everybody knew because we religiously worked on them. But after him, yeah, obviously Bernsteiner, charismatic. Kissing the policewoman was the one of the great stories at the WECA and stuff like that, obviously. And everybody saying that he put this game from what it was in the mainstream media. So as a coach, now that I know what coaches have to do and stuff like that, I think that he was still one of those older generation of coaches. But after him, when Mitch took over with Alan West, that was turning point for the Glory to be successful, winning trophies. Not only playing great football and all of that, but winning trophies, because those two work extremely well together. Alan West being sort of a defensive-minded and a strong midfield, and Mitch Devereux was sort of working religiously on scoring goals, creating chances and stuff like that. So those two work extremely well. And they, I think at that time, we haven't had as much as, game analysis, training sessions and stuff like that. They took that upon themselves to watch the games, break down the defenders and say, look, okay, yeah, this is a sort of a tactic that we're gonna employ against them. And then obviously within sort of a couple of years, you all of a sudden know who you're playing against. You know their weaknesses and strengths, and then you deploy your own interpretation of those tactics to beat the opposition. And then after that, Steve McMahon and in the A-League, a lot of people saying, look, you know what, Steve McMahon, yeah, he wasn't I didn't have a problem with Steve McMahon. His management, I lack, but you know what, I like strong personalities when they go and look, you know what, this is not good, and they tell you. At least you know where you stand, and you're gonna go and work, rather than coach that does not communicate to you, but you're not playing. Why? So I didn't have a problem with him. Definitely Castro. Definitely Castro. It's a crowd pleaser, and you know what? It's great to see him at the age that he is. What is he now? 36, 37. Looks after himself, plays, and you can see that even that he is losing a little bit of pace. We understand that comes with age, but it's great role model for the younger generation of the kids that are growing up to learn from the guy like that, how the hell he can be free all the time. So that's with the experience, and his footballing knowledge is astronomical. His skill is second to none. Second to none. One of the greatest inputs that we ever had at the club.